Let's paint the picture once again. We are currently sitting underneath a giant wooden pyramid at the world-famous Sertoma Park in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Nick, do you want to tell them kind of our surroundings here?
Yeah, so we got a few things around us. We have a giant jungle gym thing, which is, you just have to see it to be impressed by it. It's a little disappointing as an adult because it's not as big as an adult would need, but if you're a small child, it'd be pretty sweet. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4 separate playground units, and only one of them has the very dangerous, in my opinion, like black ground stuff. All the other ones have wood chips, and I remember hearing somewhere after they started doing it's like spongy black ground things. I think it's like used tires or something they ground up and then make into a thing. I remember hearing something that there's more broken bones on that stuff than there used to be wood chips, which would make sense to me because that stuff doesn't have as much give as the typical like 2 or 3 feet worth of wood chips. I mean, you could dig holes in that stuff when I was a kid. So fortunately, it's mostly safe minus that one. And then we have a some speaking thing. I don't know how to describe it next to us. And then we have a like stand in the middle of it thing, and I don't think you can hear anything in it. I'm not sure what it is. And then we have 2 trail systems.
A sundial, actually.
I know they have the sundial in the middle, but there's something else maybe. It could just be a sundial. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. But yeah, then we got a couple trail systems and a butterfly house and some kids running around and just some people hanging out. So welcome to our second remote.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I just want to start out saying that parks are very underrated, in my opinion. You only see the elderly and like children, but it's free for everybody. I think, well, we were just talking about this a little bit earlier. We need to have parks exclusively for adults.
Like if you could have like a 21-year-old, we could even say like an 18-plus-year-old park. I mean, that'd be sweet. Like just think about it, like larger equipment. And then if it was like 21-year-old, hey, you could serve beverages at it. You'd have like beer or something. Because I remember, like in college, I don't think you ever played with us, but we get a group of us together, it was mostly us climbers, and we'd do lava tag at that park where they had the frisbee golf thing. And it was awesome, especially when you have climbers. I mean, you're doing a lot of dangerous things, but it'd be a lot more fun if it was like bigger and you had more space to do it.
Well, even mentioning when you said, because as all the half-done listeners know, Nick is an avid climber. I mean, what's the difference between a rock wall for adults and a jungle gym for kids? Like nothing. So if there was like a public rock wall, something like that, heck, if they served beverages, you could single-handedly like bring any city out of debt. Pretty much, you know what I mean? So that would be cool. You know, even just like a pool for like people too, because there's always like adult swim and stuff, but like I feel like that just doesn't cut it. You know, no one wants to be swimming with like gross kids.
No, people would rather swim with gross adults if you're an adult. Like I think it'd be sweet, and somebody might steal our idea, or maybe they already have it. But if we could have like a place where it was kind of like this, like you had this big park and it was just for adults. The equipment was a little bit bigger. Maybe you sign a waiver before you come in because adults are going to be like children anyway. And there's like a pool, and there you can serve beverages, just like a big adult play place, you know, where you can get away from the kids and just hang out and act like a kid.
And heck, they're the ones paying the taxes anyway, so I feel like they should reap the benefits more than, you know, the children.
Yeah, those goddamn kids. But no, I think that'd be pretty sweet. Yeah, they are severely underrated. I mean, just looking around, I mean, it looks like there'd be a lot of fun playing on some of the stuff, which we have. But it'd be a lot more fun if it was just like a lot larger, and it was just adults only, and you could really just go and screw around. So, yeah, someday maybe that's going to be our big push. Maybe we can fight for that.
Oh yeah, we'll have signs. We'll storm, I don't know, public affairs office and have them listen to our demands. It's funny you mentioned lava tag, was it?
Yeah.
We were big shut eye tag players back in the day. where pretty much, it's pretty self-explanatory. You'd have the eyes closed. You couldn't touch the wood chips, but you have to get from playground equipment to playground equipment. But each person that was it, they can open their eyes for like 2 seconds and then run and try to tag you. And those 2 seconds were they were lit, let's just say. Because, it'd be just a mad dash and stuff. So that was always fun. But yeah, a lot of good memories. I played at this park when I was a kid. It looks a lot different than usual. I'm getting a phone call right now, so I gotta quickly just ignore that. But yeah, we're doing our second remote to try to switch things up. I believe it was a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks since our last one. But we're happy to be back here. We're going to talk about a few things this week and also give some more information on the possible new series that we've got coming up.
Yeah. No, so it should be pretty sweet. So we got a little bit going, and as I'm sure many of you listening already can tell, there is other people around us. So going to be a little bit of background noise.
But you kind of have to self-censor.
Yeah. We'll have to censor ourselves so we're not cussing in front of small children. But no, it should be good. But we were talking a little bit today. I actually just got back in town a little while ago. I went on like a mini weekend brewery jump tour thing. It was a little bit unplanned, which was fun. I know you've gone to a few breweries with me, but I ended up at 3 different ones here over about the past 12 to 24 hour period, and I found a new passion in life. If we can get the podcast going real big, we could do a secondary series just on us traveling and drinking beer and going to different breweries and then partying at college campuses.
That sounds good. Sounds good to me. That's pretty much kind of embracing the idea of let's just never grow up,
Yeah, screw growing up. I just heard something, and it inspired me a little bit. It was somebody at work was playing it as an inspirational thing, but they had the only part of the message I heard was, you can get a job, and that was their first message. It was supposed to be about going and believing in your passions and things like that, but all I heard was, you can get a job anytime, so go and do whatever you feel like for a little while. Just if you're doing something now, just go and quit it and just go do something silly, because you can get a job somewhere doing something. And I was like, yeah, you know what, Drew and I, we can quit our jobs, we can take this up full time, and we'll just hit the road. We'll go and do podcasts, and people can finally boost our listenership, and then we can get more advertisement, and then eventually we can live on the road. We can just have a little home base, and then we just travel around 6 months a year.
That sounds good. That sounds good to me. Living the true American journey. I feel just life on the road. We live in a pretty big country. You gotta expand your horizons, visit it all. Speaking about being on the road, earlier today, and I don't want this podcast to be just little stuff that's happened to us, but here we go anyway. I got into a car accident, and this is the first time I've gotten into a car accident where I've been behind the wheel, but I was in a turning lane just downtown. It was on 10th Street before it turned to 12th Street, and what happened, it was totally the other guy's fault. What happened is there was a green light for the people to go forward, but not for the turning light. That was still red, and the guy must have seen the traffic just moving ahead, and he wasn't paying attention, so he just ran with the back of my car. And it was funny because I immediately just put on the flashers, the emergency lights or whatever, and the sheriff actually saw it happen, so he would just pulled up right behind us. But the funny thing is, the dude was a pizza delivery guy, and he had green hair, and he had grills, and the dude was kind of freaking out. When I asked for his number, his hands were shaking when he was giving me the his information and stuff. And then when the cop came, I feel he was kind of tongue-tied, and I don't know if some people just don't feel comfortable around people like that, which is understandable, but I was wondering does this guy not have a license or anything? My mind was just kind of going to all the different things here, but luckily everything turned out Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was a little confused earlier because we were texting back and forth just about doing the podcast here today, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Hey, dude, sorry, I've been a little bit of a lull," and I was like, I never look at my phone anyway, so I'm not gonna notice if you texted me 5 minutes ago or an hour ago. But you're like, "Yeah, I got in a car accident." I was like, "What the hell?" Like, I was like, "Oh," first thought I was like, "God, he like flipped it or something," like just wild, and then I was like, "It's a fender bender probably." Because that's just a very casual thing. So I'm glad it was only a fender bender, and it sounds like it would have been kind of an amusing scene to watch.
It was kind of funny, and like right as we got outside to like, the first thing I did, like check to see if there's like a lot of damage and stuff. As soon as I went outside, it started raining. I was like, oh great. So that was kind of funny. But yeah, nothing serious. My neck does feel like a little stiff and stuff because the seatbelt just locks, and like I did like really jerk forward, but other than that, like things are okay. So yeah, we're still doing the podcast even though there was a terrible accident today.
Rain, sunshine, hail, snow, car accidents. We'll make the podcast happen. So yeah, life's moving forward. We're good there. Like Drew said, we can probably get into it a little bit here since it's been relatively uneventful since the last podcast that we did. Yeah, so like we said, we're going to be doing something new here soon, relatively soon. We're kind of figuring out time frames and exactly how it's going to look and how we're going to structure everything. But do we want to get into a little bit more in depth on it, or do we want to just kind of hint at it a little bit more?
We can hint at it.
Yeah,
I think that's fine.
I was going to say we can save the build up so nobody steals our idea at the same time. But so we're going to be doing a little bit of a blend of Drew went to school. Obviously, he's a big time journalist. He's just all in depth in that. He knows everything there is to know about research and journalism. But we're going to be pairing his knowledge and his intensity for figuring things out and research and stuff with my obsessive intensity over some dark subject matter. In a hopefully, we're going to try to do it in like a pretty respectful manner when we're doing this stuff.
Yeah. So
tonal wise, if you listen to us, because we just sound like a couple dorks, couple laid back guys, nothing super serious. Tonally, it'll be a little bit different.
That's for sure. I'm sure we are gonna, squeeze some one-liners in there every once in a while. But it'll be a lot of fun. We'll probably give you more information, I want to say, next week.
Yeah.
Either on our Facebook or even with like maybe a quick teaser, audio or video teaser. So yeah, that'll be exciting. But yeah, we've been planning this for about, I don't know, not too long, but we've got some good ideas, I feel like.
Yeah. No, it should be pretty fun. Actually, this is, and we might talked about it a little bit last time, but I think I forgot to mention to you. So kind of in a different shift, we were talking about your research and stuff. Here a few weeks ago when we were doing the last podcast, you had mentioned to me there's like this documentary, The Missing 411.
Yeah.
And oh my God.
Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, I watched it. Wow, I'm gonna try to describe it in a relatively easy to understand way for listeners, because my mind was a little bit blown by it. So essentially what it is it's a documentary that is following, I think it's 4 or 5 cases of missing kids throughout the United States in national parks, and like
exclusively
exclusively in national parks, and like all of the cases are extremely similar. Like every one of them, it's like a 2-3-year-old boy, and like the physical characteristics of the kid are like almost always the same, and it's almost always the same thing. Like literally the kid's out of sight for like a minute or two, and then they can't find any trace of him for years, and then all of a sudden they'll find like articles of clothing or something like that in a spot that they had searched years ago in pristine condition, like 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Like it shouldn't be there. It's crazy. Like I don't know. I mean, you told me about it. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting watch. And there's also a case that happened in South Dakota that
Happy ending.
happy ending. Yeah. Oh, totally. A weird ending.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Very almost supernatural. I mean, it's very interesting. Some of the cases I kind of had my doubts, but I mean, it is extremely odd. And actually, this is very topical that we're talking about this now, because I believe it was within the last couple of weeks here in Minnesota. Did you hear about this?
No.
It was almost the exactly same case. There was a little kid. Comes home just scarred up, all these weird scratches and stuff. I think the mother heard the kid screaming, came out. Clothes were torn up and stuff. I had these weird marks on her, on the child. I can't remember the sex of the kid, but when interviewed, because miraculously the kid survived. When interviewed, they said the kid said that it was a kitty. It was like a kitty. So they're like, okay, well, this couldn't have been a cat. It might have been like a mountain lion even.
Yeah.
But they were looking at the claw marks, and it wasn't consistent with something like that. And they're like, if it was a mountain lion, the kid would not be here. Like all this weird stuff. And I immediately thought of that documentary.
Actually, I hadn't heard about that, but I was listening to, so there's this other podcast I was listening to, they called not In the Dark. I was listening to In the Dark, and if you haven't heard it, you should check it out. They're almost done with season 2. Anyways, no. So I was listening to this other one. I think it's like it's on NPR app.
Okay.
And it's called Someone Knows Something. And I just listened to season 1 of it. It's relatively short. They're like half an hour episodes, 10 of them, and the case in there. So it's like this 2-year-old boy in a Canadian national park just randomly goes missing. They're out fishing or something like that, him, family, and some family friends, and the kid walks up the top of this hill. Someone goes up after him here a minute or two later, and they never see him again. They can't find any trace of him, anything at all. And it's it had a ton of the same characteristics and similarities as the Missing 411 did, and that was just based in the U.S. But I was up in Canada, I was like, ooh. As soon as they were describing it, that first episode, all I could think, I was like, it's part of it. There's something out there. Which when you're watching it and kind of hearing about this stuff, the person that wrote the books that the documentary is based off of is a cryptozoologist. So it's the people that study and try to find things like Bigfoot and other stuff like that. So which made kind of a little bit of a sense why they would pick up something like that. But I mean, it's all bizarre.
Yeah, because I think it's safe to say that what am I saying? Both members of the Half Done believe there might be a Sasquatch out there. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, because I think they, the documentary tried to frame these missing children cases, maybe on yeah, pretty much some weird animals, maybe aliens, things like that, or just things we can't just explain right now. Obviously, when I think of something like that, my first, I feel like everyone's first thoughts go to an animal.
Yeah.
Because it's exclusively these little kids. Even eagles can pick kids up and stuff. So yeah. After watching that, I'm just thinking to myself, if I'm ever babysitting a little kid and in a national park, I'm not pro putting a kid on a leash, but I'm kind of not anti putting a kid on a leash,
especially after watching that.
Yeah.
The one thing that I got out of that, and there's some explanation for all of them, obviously. It's kind of a little bit weird, but the one thing that I got out that really concerned me was when they were interviewing the national park people, and they're just not about children. How many people go missing? A year, how many people have gone missing in the national parks? They don't have an answer because they don't. They kind of keep track of it, but the national park system itself doesn't have a database, or it doesn't really readily or at least it doesn't readily make it available for people to go, okay, this is how many people go missing there. And I mean, it's a relatively large amount, just because some of those parks are huge, and there's just, people go in there. There's just a variety of ways, you go in ill prepared, you don't bring enough water and dehydrated, or you're off on your own, and you go and you're dicking around somewhere you shouldn't, and you slip in a ravine and hurt yourself. I mean, there's a variety of ways, but that kind of concerned me that they don't keep track of those things, or at least they didn't. When they interviewed, the people interviewed said that they didn't. So maybe they do, and we're just, we don't have the full information, or that didn't frame it that way. But that would concern me.
Oh, totally. I heard of a case recently. I think it was like on the Discovery Channel or something, some TV show where it was like, it's called like, How Am I Still Living or something like that. Have you heard this? I don't know. It's like all these like crazy things that happen to these people, but these people were on a trail, and it was a first date situation, which I can't imagine a first date, but they were walking on the trail, and the guy suggests, let's like go off the trail a little bit, and kind of got turned around. They could still hear people talking on their main trail, so they're like, can't be far. And then, like minutes turn into like hours, and then they can still hear people, but they were yelling like, help, help. But like for some reason, the acoustics of where they were, like it wasn't like getting to the people on the trail. So anyway, they spent like a couple nights in just in the woods without like a blanket, without like anything. They're wearing like clothes like us, so it was kind of crazy.
Actually, so I have it's semi-similar first date story to that. They get lost in the woods for a few days or anything, but I remember when we were back in college, I went out with this girl, and if she's listening, she knows who she is, but she was in sports, and then I was working too. I worked at the Rockwell. So she got done with practice at like, I don't remember, this would have been in like a September timeframe, October. She got done with the practice, and at like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, and then I got off work at about the same time. So she's like, yeah, let's get together, and like after you're off work and I'm done with practice. I was like, oh, that's great, we'll meet up at like 7:30. In my head, I like to try to take girls on like different things for first dates. So I like to go do like hiking and stargazing, other random things like for a first date like that. I know some girls aren't as like comfortable with that. They're like, I just want to go like meet up for a drink or something, public place. I get that, it's whatever, but my preferred is like doing something outdoors. So
I feel like a lot lot of girls eat that stuff up.
I got to be honest, it works real well. But yeah, so I invite this girl out. She's like, yeah, let's go. We pick a time, we get off work, I pick her up, and I didn't tell her ahead of time like exactly what we're doing. I was like, oh, it'll be this big surprise. And so I drive out where we went to college. So I don't know, do you know like Clay County Park? Did you ever go out there? It was just to the west of town.
Nope.
Okay. So you get out, there's like a boat ramp, there's a little camp, like half-free campground or whatever. It's like a nice little place, but they have like a 2.5 mile trail loop.
Oh, cool.
And then there's like another half-mile loop portion of it or whatever. So we get out there, and this is South Dakota in like the middle of September. Sun goes down pretty quick. I don't really think about that ahead of time. Logistically, that didn't make sense, because when I picked her up, I was like, oh, sun's out. And like we get out there and it's getting dark, and I was like, she's like, oh, what are we doing? I was like, we're going hiking. She's like, oh, that's great, like pretty pumped up. And we get out there, and my first thought was, damn, it's dark, and like it's still pretty light, like the sun's setting. And she's like, oh, this kind of like, this is a really nice thing. It was romantic. I'm air quoting. It was romantic because you could like, the beginning of the trail, we're walking into the sunset, so like,
oh, nice.
It's a pretty view. You got like kind of the rivers over there. It's just a really nice thing. But then I brought a flashlight with us, and it wasn't the most powerful flashlight, but we started getting into the trail, and it's a super wooded thing, like just really densely wooded, and it's really hard to see. And then the like sun goes down, and it's just pitch black, and we're out in the country. We're the only vehicle that was out anywhere near that park that I saw, so we're the only ones for sure on the trail. And I'm taking this girl that doesn't really know me, like 2.5 mile hike, assuming we take the right sections of it, in like dark wood.
Can I just pause for a second here? It sounds like you're setting up the perfect crime, to be honest.
Honestly, the jokes were made when we were out hiking.
Yeah.
She's like, wow, you can't really see anything well out here, can you? And I was like, nope, you can't. She's like, this would be a bad place for somebody to take you if they were trying to like kill you. And I was like, yeah, that's why I brought you out. Ha ha ha. And she got a kick out of it, and I think it was genuine. But yeah, I just remember walking, and like my flashlight doesn't even like cover the whole like width of the trail. Like it just literally shines about like 4 feet in front, 3 or 4 feet in front. And there's no like trail map out there.
Oh,
and I'd only ever been out there the one time, so like I was like, like it was a loop. So there's a loop, but there's a couple spurs. So I was like, I think we're staying on the loop, but there's no way to know until you're done with it. So like we made it out and everything. It was fine. Like it was all good. I scored the second date because I'm really charming on my first date sometimes. Nice. But yeah, it was just. When you say that they had that was kind of what I thought was going to happen. I was like, this girl's going to be terrified of me,
yeah.
Which she should be, but she really couldn't turn back at any point because what's she going to do? I drove her out into the country.
She's got to trust you. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just don't think of situations like that until like you're just like in the middle of it. So it's funny. Yeah, the only other times I've really been like trailing, I've been at like the Palisades, or there's like this one park a little south of Brandon. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Kind of near the Palisades, I guess. But I guess I don't have any like good stories that you have.
See, the key is you just got to take girls out for first dates on hikes, and you're golden. Mm-hmm. Then you can have a lot of good stories. Or you can. The other one that I have some funny first date stories, it seems, but yeah, the other one, like I said, that's good to go on is like stargazing. Mm-hmm. But then again, I remember I went back in college too, went stargazing, and Spirit Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah. So if for you listeners, type it in. It's like a Lewis and Clark site. It was like really special to like Native Americans in the area. It was like ceremonial place for them and everything. But it's just this random high point, like this random really high, like tall hill, essentially, out in the middle of the plains. Mm-hmm. So we went out there. I took a girl out there to go like stargaze because there was going to be like a meteor shower or something like that.
Nice.
And it was like a relatively similar situation. Like we parked and then we hiked in a little ways to like some bench, and like again, it's just absolutely pitch black. We're the only people out there. And like we're here, like it's tall grass, like you can't even see into where we're at, like you couldn't even see where the car is. And I was like, wow, this is another good place to like hide a body. And then we were hearing like rustling and stuff in there, which was like kind of freaking both of us out. Mm. But it was just like turkeys running around or something.
Sure.
But yeah, it made more sense to me. I went out with a girl here relatively recently. And she's like, yeah, let's just meet for like coffee or something. I was like, why don't you want to go hiking? She's like, well, I mean woods with a stranger. And I was like, fair. That actually I've never thought about that until now.
Fair enough. Yeah, it is kind of funny. We just talked about this a little bit, but like everything's creepier in the dark. Because like, I mean, just like speaking like really generally, we get all our information off our senses, and if one of the senses is just out, like, your mind goes racing. I recently, actually, we were gonna try to catch this movie together, but I saw the movie Hereditary last week, and that like is all about playing with your senses. So, even when I got home that night, I was like, checking underneath the bed, just wanted to make sure everything's chill.
What's I know which movie it is for me. It's not a great movie, but what horror movie has left you, like, you watch it and you go, wow, that's pretty good, but then you're like trying to go to bed or whatever, and it's just left you really wigged out? Like, what one has messed with you the most post it?
Yeah, it was this really bad, I think it's an older movie too. I think it's called like Dr. Chuckles or something like that. It's about this doctor, and he like might have been a clown or something. I can't remember really much, but it was the first scary movie I ever saw. I was maybe like 11 or 12, and it was just way too intense for me. So that like that pretty much like scarred me.
I remember I had 2 of them. I really enjoy scary movies, and I remember when I was a little kid, my dad let me stay up late to watch The Lost Boys with him one time.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. I might be off on the age. I'm sure my mom will correct me. But I think I was like maybe like 5 or 6 or something.
Oh, wow.
So I was pretty young, but because I only reason I remember staying up late for it was because I remember my mom going, "Hey, it's kind of late. Nick should probably go to bed." And I'd watch like at least half of the movie with my dad, and I was like really intense into it. My dad's like, "Nah, he'll be fine."
Yeah.
And I'm sure, little kid, I'm sure it was like 7:30, and my mom was wanting me to go to bed, but freaked me the hell out because then I had my first like just terrifying nightmare after that. But the most recent one, I wasn't freaked out by the movie. Like, it's a really awful movie. It's called The Fourth Kind. It's
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's like an alien abduction thingy or whatever. And I watched, this would have been, I think I was in like junior high or something like that. And I remember watching it, and I was like home alone or something. And I was on TV or whatever it was. But I watched it, I was like, God, that was just not a great movie.
Yeah.
And I got done, I was still home alone, and I was like, I'm going to go to bed, and I slept in the basement. So like, started going in the basement.
Did you see an owl?
Well, that was what wigged me out. So like, I'm in the basement. You get done watching a horror movie, you're always a little bit on edge. But get in my room. It's like springtime or something, so my window's open. All of a sudden, I just hear like an owl outside my window going, and I was just on edge. Because if you haven't seen the movie, which you don't need to,
No.
that's like the whole thing. Anytime someone would hear an owl, that was like they would hear the owls right before they get like abducted by an alien or something. So I was sitting there like, oh my god.
It's gonna happen. That's funny you mentioned that, because I saw that movie. I think it was in high school. But because I've seen it twice now. First time I saw it, it spooked me, and then I watched it a second time, just like maybe a year ago with my brother, and we were like, wow, this movie sucks. So that was kind of funny, but it looks like we hit our half-done mark, which is the half of an hour. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully when we're editing this, there isn't a lot of noise. I did hear some birds going crazy during some of it, but last things you want to say at all?
Nah, just keep tuned into us. Like Drew said here towards the beginning, so as far as our new stuff, we'll probably have a little bit more announcements here in the next week or two, whether that's going to just be via Facebook, maybe get some audio surprises up, or some video or something like that. We'll get that rolling. And I think we're on episode 7 or 8 right now.
Lucky number 7. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say time flies when you're having fun, right?
Exactly.
But so I think, and we'll decide. We probably have about 1 or 2 more that we're gonna do before we get into the new one. Mm-hmm. And once we get that all rolling and figured out, we'll have like an official. We'll get you guys the whole rundown, the announcements. But meantime, just keep up with us on all the social media stuff. Share us for the love of God if you like listening to us, and you think other people will. Share us on Facebook. Force your friends to listen to us. Hound people, text them, call them. I don't care what you do. Just promote us. I mean, that's all I got. So, you've been tuned in the Half Done Podcast. I'm Nick Bell.
I'm Drew Helland. Peace and love. We'll see you next time.